In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to draw the front, top, and right side orthographic views of the tool holder from your technical drawing with engineering graphics text by Gasecki. I will also demonstrate how to draw the isometric view of the same object. I started off by starting a new drawing using the A-size sheet template that I provide for this exercise. The reason I chose the A-size sheet template is this drawing that we're working with is given in imperial measurements. The reason I know they're imperial measurements versus metric measurements is if it were a metric drawing, it would be noted directly on the object itself. So I'm going to assume, since I don't see the word metric in a rectangular box, that this is an imperial measurement object, and therefore I need to use a template that uses imperial measurements, and the A-size sheet template does that. So what I'll do now is switch to model space. And the reason that we use templates, of course, is it saves a lot of settings that we don't want to recreate every time we start a new drawing. And for this particular drawing, we'll start off and we will use the construction layer. And the thing you'll learn about creating three views from a 3D sketch like we're given is that you can't draw one view and then move to the next and then move to the next. Usually you have to draw a little bit of one view and then work a little bit on another view and then go back even to the first view and work your way through it iteratively like that. So that's what we'll start on now. And I think just looking at this object, you could I think you could start from either the front, top, or right side view. I think I want to start from the front. It's always the most comfortable to start from. And so what I want to do is just draw the outline of the front view. Okay, and so I want to turn my polar snap or polar tracking on. And again, I'm in my construction layer, so I want to go straight to the right, and I will type in 3.78, use the direct distance, and then I will go up by 2 units, and then to the left by 3.78, and then back to the beginning. Okay, now again, this is just the outline of the front view. Okay, now if you're confused about the front, top, and right side view, remember we're dealing with the box here, and anytime an object is given in an isometric view to us to reproduce, the front view is as if you were standing to the lower left corner of the object and looking back toward it. It's a little hard to describe verbally, but I think you'll see which view I'm drawing, and that's always the arrangement of views. Okay, if you're given an isometric view. Okay, and I will demonstrate that as we move along. Okay, so this is the outline of the object, and now let me use the offset command. So I will type O, enter, and I will specify an offset distance of 1, and let me offset this line by a distance of 1, and then I want to repeat that command, but I want my offset distance to be 1.14, and I will offset this by 1.14, and then also let me offset this line on the right by a distance of 1. So I will offset that back toward the middle by a distance of 1. And I'm using the dimensions given directly in the drawing. Now, let's see. I think, let me offset this line by 0.74. And everybody has their own method of doing this, by the way. There's no one correct way of doing this. And then let me offset that by 1.12. Now there's a little bit of a problem with the way I'm doing this. It can get a little bit confusing the more lines you add. So let me just stop here with the amount of construction lines I have and go to my visible layer, and let me actually draw a couple of visible lines to help clean this up. So from the top of this line that was offset by 0.74, I want to draw a line at a 45-degree angle. Okay, now you should have your polar tracking at an increment that will snap to 45 degrees. If you're not sure, right click on the polar tracking button and make sure that go to settings and we can actually specify an increment angle. So 15 divides evenly into 45, so we should be able to snap on 45, so that's good. Okay, so I'm going to start off horizontal and then rotate around, so there's 15 degrees. You see it snap when the line turns green, the polar tracking line turns green. Okay, so this is 30, and then finally 45. Okay, so let me trim off this excess, TR, enter, enter. And the reason I come way out here instead of coming close to the line, I don't want to accidentally snap to this line when what I'm really trying to do is to create a precise 45-degree angle. So I'll come way out here to avoid doing that and then just trim off the excess. So I'll trim that, and then I will draw a visible line from here to here, I believe it was. Okay, and that should be a length of 1.12. From the end of that line, I want to draw a 30-degree angle. Well, my increment angle for my polar tracking is 15 degrees, so 15, of course, goes into 30 twice. So let me go to horizontal and go around. There's 15. There's 30. Okay. Now you can see that this 30-degree angle goes down to a certain point and then hits a level surface. Okay, that level surface begins at 0.74 down from the top. So let me offset my construction line by 0.74. Okay, anything beyond that level line needs to go away. So let me trim that away. TR, enter. I'll click here, enter, and then click the red line, and then it goes away. And then finally, let me draw a line from the end point here to the end point there. Okay, so that's kind of what the top edge of the object looks like. Now, we've kind of reached a point where I think we're going to have to go and work on the right side view for a little bit. Okay, so let me. There's no hard and set rule for this, but just looking at the size of my object, I'm going to offset this right line here to the right by 2 for my spacing between my front and right side view. Okay, and experience will kind of show you how far to space the objects apart. So now I'm looking at the right side. This line that I just offset will be actually the front edge of my right side view. So let me do some offsets. So O, enter, 0.76, enter, and I will offset that back. And then let me offset this front edge by 2.24. Again, I'm looking at dimensions given in the text. Okay, and I will offset this line back toward the front by 0.76. Okay, now I know that the top surface, the very top surface of the object up here is 0.5 wide, so let me offset for that. Okay, and again, we're starting to get to an area where maybe it might get a little bit confusing if we don't try to do a little drawing. So I'm in my visible layer. So let me draw a line from here to here, and that will be our 0.5 distance. Let me go back into my construction layer just for a moment, and I can show you something while I'm at it here. You see I drew that construction layer and it actually covered up the visible line that I already created. If I want both lines there, which I actually do, but I want to be able to see the visible line so I don't forget it's there, I need to send this construction line behind the visible line. So let me left click one time on the line, right click, go down to draw order, and select send to back. And what that'll do, it will send the construction line behind the visible line that I created, so I can actually see the visible line. So what I want to do now is I can offset the top surface by 0.74. Okay, and I also it looks like, even though we can't assume this, you remember I offset the same 0.74 down to this level surface here. It actually looks like from here down to the bottom of this line is also 0.74, but let's look. just to make sure, because we weren't actually given that measurement directly.